Hello and welcome to the EduCon podcast, where we speak to higher education institutions to understand what's happening in the ever changing world of education. This is Janhavi Pawar, and this conversation is brought to you by Java and Skoda. Today, we have some very interesting speakers from our AICon Gala, where we have people not just from academia, but also from industry. I hope you have a great time listening to this podcast. Our guest on set is Ms. Deepa Shinde, Senior AI Leader and Quantum Computing Ambassador in Microsoft UK. She has over 20 years of experience working with right from IT, AI, amongst other things. So, Deepa, thank you so much for coming here today and joining us to have a lovely chat about some of the work that you've been doing. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. So you began your career in India. You began as an algorithm developer, and now you're in the UK. You're leading AI and quantum computing initiatives at Microsoft. How did this journey happen?
So actually, I started off, of course, I've studied in India, Mumbai. In fact, I did my bachelor's in computers in Mumbai. And after that, I moved to Pune for work. And I was there with Persistent Systems for about 5 years and did a lot of algorithm specific work there and middle tier development as well. And then, supposed to get married and my husband was here, so that's how I came here actually. So I came as his dependent. I was here, I started working right away. There was a lot of opportunities here back then. Of course, I'm not sure if that's the case now, but I started working here again, in the software space. I was with Tullow Oil. It's an oil and gas organization, basically majorly upstream. In South America and Africa. So I worked with them for about 11 years. So when I left there, I was heading the applications and data and information space. So that was quite a big exposure for me, actually. And I think my foundation was laid back at Persistent. So the kind of work I did at Persistent was really niche. It was really good because I worked with a lot of IITians as well back then, and I could really see the kind of quality that they bring to the table. So I learned quite a bit there. And once I was here, it was a lot with Tullow Oil, and the kind of projects I did there were very foundational, and they were really groundbreaking as well in some sense for the organization. So I remember when I left, just like 2-3 years before that, we as a team, so I was heading a team of 34 people. Before I left, actually, I think we had actually transformed about 46 applications for Tullow Oil and saving lots of money. But that came about because also, with oil and gas back then, there wasn't enough budget. So we were actually rationalizing a lot of applications. And as part of that, the budget was quite stringent. So we actually mixed and matched a lot of technology to create a transformative technology that could save a lot of money to Tullow Oil. And that's where my career in fusion development began, which is more about mixing and matching different technologies and creating applications. And that really helped me to get into Microsoft, basically. So Microsoft happened in 2021. I just got a request on LinkedIn for the interview and I said yes. Not that I was unhappy at Tullow. I loved what I did at Tullow. But I just thought, it's been 11 years and Microsoft was always on the cards because as a child, I used to tell my mom that I want to be in the software world. And when I grew up, I always wanted to work for Microsoft. So it was a dream company. In fact, when I came to India, I was selected for Microsoft Cambridge, but then it didn't work out for many different reasons, which will take a lot of time for us to talk now, but didn't. So yeah, and when I was at Persistent as well, I did a lot of work for Microsoft. So in fact, they were calling me when I was leaving Persistent, they were kind of giving me a job at Microsoft. But again, it didn't happen because my husband didn't want to move there to US. It was in US. So I think this was meant to happen. It was destiny to work with Microsoft. And now for 4 years, I've been with Microsoft and leading the architecture for pharma and life sciences. again, that hope happened over a period of time, but more in the architecture space. I'm not like overall leading, but more in the architecture space, just for pharma customers. So I work with all the niche technologies like AI, generative AI, machine learning, and of course quantum computing as well. But there's a history to this, in the sense. Quantum computing is not part of my role, to be honest, but I've always loved sciences, and I've never left learning physics, chemistry, or maths, and even biology for that matter. So when I went into computers, I had a lot of thoughts around whether I should take, science as a stream or computers as a stream. And back then, I'm from a very humble background as well financially. So I wanted to earn, right? And in India, of course, there wasn't a lot of scope for research and earning a lot through that stream. So I chose computers, and I loved computers equally, to be honest. But I never left physics, chemistry, biology. I kept learning those subjects. And before I joined Microsoft, I started doing quantum about 2018. And that was... That happened because of someone. So Krista Sware, who is head of quantum at Microsoft, advanced quantum at Microsoft, I heard her talk actually. I went into one of the events and I heard her talking about quantum in 2017. I wasn't working for Microsoft back then. And I thought, like quantum computing is a very good combination of what I like doing. It has physics, it has applications in chemistry, it does computing. So why aren't I studying it? So that's when I actually started self-studying the subject. So not at all from physics background, or I have not done a PhD or anything actually. I'm just a self-learner, and I've learned it. And when I joined Microsoft, I joined the quantum folks who were working outside of core quantum team to work with the customers on quantum applications. And I understood the technology because of my self-studies quite a bit, the space as well. I started working with a lot of customers, and that's always been like a side job for me from the usual job I do at Microsoft, which is architecture in AI machine learning space. It's always an extra effort that kind of takes you there. And now I'm moving into new role as well, which is more industry advisory into research and academia. So everything I used to do outside of my job now, I start doing in my job. And that happened also because of going above and beyond for what you like, actually. So I love it. And that passion helps me to go beyond, to actually learn these technologies and also apply them. So I think, so that's how it happened. That's how I'm here today, where I am actually.
Wonderful. Yeah. And something that, if we just stay on the topic of quantum computing, right, something that I'd seen perhaps in your bio and your research as well is quantum safe, right? What exactly is that word and what does it mean?
Right. So quantum computing and quantum safe are two very important pillars within the community today. And quantum computing, because of course, we can do things that we can't do with the classical compute today using quantum computing. And that's why I think we as humanity have spent about 100 years in quantum information and technology as well. Like this is the 100th year of quantum science. And that is all about building applications that can be supported through quantum as technology. But then there's a dual side to the technology, like any other technology, be it AI or be it World Wide Web, right? So the dual side, or it's a double-edged sword, I would say, in the sense that there are certain algorithms in quantum which can break asymmetric cryptography. So things like RSA, ECC could be broken through there's an algorithm called Shaw's algorithm in quantum computing. It's quite a fundamental algorithm, actually. And that tells us that Shaw's algorithm tells us that a big number, which can be broken into its prime factors. And that's what the fundamentals on which RSA and ECC are, which means when quantum computing becomes, like when we have enough compute in like half a decade or a decade time, we are at risk, basically, because a lot of our systems are dependent on these cryptographic means. So Quantum Safe is an initiative that deals with building quantum-resistant algorithms. These are fundamentally cryptographic algorithms which are mathematically so strong, they are NP hard problems in such a way that they become quantum resistant. Even quantum computers can't break them. So this research has been going on for a long time, actually. And I know it since 2014, actually, that research has been going on around building new algorithms, which are quantum resistant algorithms. And now consortiums like NIST and other, even in UK, we have come up with different types of algorithms which are meant to be quantum safe, like specifically FIPS 203, 204, 205. And they are based on different type of mathematics like lattice based or hash based mathematics, which actually makes them safe from quantum. So quantum safe is all about building those algorithms, but also implementing them as well. And there are different layers of implementation. Like, for example, in Microsoft, we are service providers. We are sitting on a lot of data of the whole world, and we also provide services. So it's really important that we embrace this technology quite a lot. So like us, IBM, a lot of other providers are actually, first of all, keeping their ecosystem safe and making sure that they safeguard all their services through the new means of cryptography. It's not just about algorithms, it's far more than that, but I think that there wouldn't be enough time to talk about everything. But it's all about getting quantum safe by certain date, and that certain date is set to be 2030. So we are cruising towards that date, and Microsoft and all the other providers are also trying to make their systems safe. So 2029, 2030 is when most of the enterprises should be already moved or migrated onto the new cryptographic means, basically. That's what quantum safe is all about. It's actually like keeping ourselves safe, but also making sure that various enterprises are embracing the algorithms quite quickly, because I think a lot of people, when they hear this, they will feel like, oh, quantum 2030, 2035, we have a lot of time, right, to get there. But the data is harvested today, and it could be decrypted tomorrow, which means data could be picked up today and could be decrypted at later point in time, a malicious player who get access to quantum computers. So if as an enterprise, if you're sitting on a data that needs to be secure for more than 5 years, then you have to kind of, first of all, keep your data safe, but also implement quantum safety and quantum safe algorithms, basically. So that's what the whole program is all about. There are multiple different steps, right from, making sure as an enterprise, you would basically make sure the cloud providers like Microsoft and others are embracing this technology so that they are safe. Then the vendors through which you're buying COTS products or applications, they need to embrace this and make sure their products are safe. And then anything you have written custom in your organization should also be going through inventory and looked at from the risk point of view and updated. So there are multiple layers at which you have to kind of look at quantum safety. And we have always seen in the past that any security related migration like bit RSA or TLS have always taken very long time for enterprises to embrace and fully adopt. So 5 years are not a lot, actually. There's something called as Moscow's theorem that says, if you're sitting on a data for X number of years, and if you think a quantum computer could be available for X or Y number of years, and then if you actually, are you safe or not? So what's the percentage of that? And the percentage of that is all of us are going to be sitting on risk, basically, even today. So don't delay it is what I would say. Be quantum safe as soon as possible. Start preparing for it, because 5 years, 6 years, 7 years seems to be long, but they aren't actually long. It's going to take a lot of time to actually get there fully. So start today.
Yeah. Got it. And when we look at, say, for instance, AI and quantum computing, where do you see this intersection happening, or what it's going to be like in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think, the first thing is getting into a space where we can start seeing the quantum advantage, which is the tipping point where, and it is said to be 50 logical qubits. I'm sorry, I'm not explaining what logical qubits are here, because I think we have finite amount of time. So the tipping point is actually 50 logical qubits, where we can start doing things better than the classical computer, or more than better. I think we can start doing things that classical computers can't do, basically. Once we get there, there's going to be phase in which we will be able to experiment better, more practically, rather than just doing the research on it. And that tipping point has to be met first. Once we meet that tipping point, there will be many experimentations in, for example, content chemistry space, in pharma and life sciences space, a bit of optimization, but I think optimization algorithms need far more qubits. But some research can actually start more practically in these areas, basically. And then once we get to the fault-tolerant quantum computing, which is industrial-scale quantum computing, of course, then we can do better climate modeling. We can build better drugs, precision drugs as well, and many other things actually that we could do. But today, if I look at today's world and where we are seeing the logical compute space moving, etc., I would say simulating molecular dynamics and simulating molecules would be the avenue that could be looked at, actually, from the point of bringing accuracy in those simulations using quantum. And AI, of course, AI is there to kind of do better prediction of candidates. And also there are many techniques in AI that actually help in processes like drug discovery, for example. So drug discovery is a process which is quite lengthy process. How can we get better drugs quicker out in the market is one thing we can do is we can reduce the time in the wet lab. How do we reduce that time in the wet lab is by taking less candidates in the wet lab to actually synthesize. But how do we reduce the candidates in the wet lab is by whatever we are doing before that as a process. If that process is optimized and it's accurate, then it will bring less candidates into wet lab. And quantum and AI plays very important part in that. So I'll give you an example. So for example, we Microsoft along with Pacific Northwest National Lab created an electrolyte for battery development. This was 70% less on lithium.
Okay.
It took us 9 months along with them to build this battery material, actually, right from the point we thought about it to the point we synthesized, basically. But this process can take years, actually, in reality. The tipping point there was there were only 18 candidates that were taken for synthesis into wet lab. But those candidates could have been hundreds, actually. So more you synthesize manually, it takes longer time, right? And how did we reduce that from hundreds to 18? The whole process there was using better AI models, using HPC for bringing scale to run those models, but also running accelerated DFT on HPC, and using these molecular dynamics packages like Quantum Espresso, and a lot of other things actually made possible to reduce those candidates to just 18. So a lot of AI models like Graph-Former, many, Matagen, there are many models that are out there from Microsoft Research, and of course from other research consortiums as well, which are open and available, which can be used for like better processing of such data. So all these together, HPC, AI, and some quantum simulation. Of course, we don't have quantum compute to actually use for accuracy, but some quantum simulation packages actually help to reduce those candidates from so many actually to 18 only to be synthesized. And when we get quantum compute, the thing would be that instead of 18, we probably will take far less than that into the lab. So that time will also get reduced quite a lot, because quantum is there to bring accuracy to what AI is doing. So what is AI? AI is basically based on data, right? So the better data you take to AI, the better results it's going to spit out. So quantum can actually bring more accurate data to AI, and that will make the entire process better. So quantum can actually create quantum accurate data and pass it on to AI, and AI can actually use that to do better predictions. And that's where I see AI and quantum to be used together. Today we can't. I think today in the active gas space, when the the entanglement between electrons goes beyond 20 electrons, we can't necessarily simulate that into classical systems. I think that's where quantum compute, when it becomes available, can actually go beyond that and simulate even those interactions. And that data can be passed on to AI as an accurate data for training these models, and that will give us better results, basically. So that's how, like, we envision the space moving. So majorly, as I said, majorly into simulating processes, basically. Molecular processes is where I see for next few years where quantum could be really, really useful. And beyond that, of course, once we get into industrial scale quantum computing and beyond, there will be like a lot of optimization problems, both in the finance space as well as in the supply chain space that could be tackled, actually. Even food production problem, or even for food industry, they kind of do a lot of optimization algorithms as well. So all that would benefit from quantum and AI together. But it's always going to be hybrid, because quantum itself as a technology is quite expensive, but also it can't do everything properly as what classical compute can do. So we want to kind of complement them with each other. We don't want to do anything with quantum, which classical compute can do very nicely today. There's no point of doing that. So it's going to be an hybrid play, majorly of AI, HPC, and quantum together.
Wow, okay. The fact that you explained that so beautifully, right? I feel like something that we must touch upon is also you've not only worked in industry, but also getting into academia. Can you share a little bit about your teaching experiences, whether it's with STEM and, like so on and so forth?
So I like putting things in a way that others could understand who are not in the space. So that has always been something I like doing, actually. But as a child, I've always been fascinated by STEM, like all the STEM subjects. I remember, when I think I was in 4th standard when I saw the Bohr's model of atom, and I was mesmerized, and I was like, Mom, what is this? Like, this is very similar to the planetary system, and like, how can something similar happen at such a minute scale? And I would not stop reading. I would read, and my mom used to say, I'm going to burn your books now because we can't hear from you, we can't see you, you're always holding a book and reading. So I literally was blown off. And I remember that day and the day when I started teaching. So before getting into IT, and while doing my engineering, I didn't wanted to lose touch with science. Because, I had that fear of losing touch with science. I don't want to lose touch with science. So I want to do computers, but I don't want to lose science. So I started actually teaching 8th grade to 11th grade kids. Physics, chemistry, and biology are my favorite subjects, actually. And maths as well. I used to teach maths as well, but maths is not something I'm very strong at. But of course, I'm okay enough to teach others, basically. So I used to teach those 4 subjects along with my brother, who is younger than me. He's 2 years younger than me. So he used to take all the other subjects, and I used to keep only the ones that I like. So back then, I remember I did it for 5 years. And it showed me a different side of me, which is, I really liked intriguing my students, something that they didn't like doing. I wanted to kind of tell them that if you learn it in a different way, you would like it. You would develop passion towards it. So when I started teaching, I really got engrossed into it along with my studies. I used to find different ways of teaching in a way that my students would find it interesting. So give them real practical examples of chemistry, for example. I do that with my daughter sometimes now. She's 12 years old, and I like to teach her what water actually is, how it is made from 2 gases, right? You see water, so what exactly it is. So I really loved those 5 years of my life, and I remember them very nicely, more than any other years, basically because I learned so much. The reason was slightly selfish, that is, I wanted to keep in touch with science, but actually it turned out to be very different because I learned so much in that journey, not just science, but also my EQ got better, to be honest, because there were so many students, so many parents, and you start reading people quite well. So I think those 5 years of my life were actually quite foundational for where I am today, because I think all the skills that I got from teaching, from learning, and from understanding people were very, very important in my journey into IT, like further, because I could see that all of that I did actually helped my growth quite a bit. But like, I've always done things that I like doing.
Yeah.
I would go out of the way to do things that I like. I think if you like something and if you're passionate about something, you should not have a reason to say, I'm not doing it because of X, Y, Z. You should find a reason to do it and carve time out to do it. So that's how the STEM happened, and that's how everything else happened. Yeah.
Would you go back to teaching by any chance? Is that still on the books?
Yeah, I would love to, actually. In fact, all these talks that I do on quantum computing and AI is all from my love of making sure that I spread enough awareness. And I do some, for example, for University of Birmingham, I'm doing like some sessions on quantum computing as well. In past, I've done a couple of talks like this with like Imperial, some German universities and some other universities as well, actually. So I would love to go back to teaching because it gives back quite a lot. But would I want to stop doing what I do now and go back to teaching? Probably not, because I feel like theory is as important as, practically applying that theory. Because if things stay into theory, they're of no use. Imagine how many hours and how much time you would have wasted to build a theory which you can't actually take to practical use for humanity. The reason why I like quantum mechanics and quantum computing, because it's going to help us advance us as a race, basically. And my passion is to take that and build something or help others to build something that could actually be of value. And that can only happen when you either teach in a university or just teach others. So I do lots at Microsoft as well at scale, where I kind of take these sessions quite a lot internally and make sure everybody's aware of it. Because more I make people aware, more, probably like I got intrigued by how Krista talked about it, and it helped me to get into quantum computing. Somebody else might hear me and feel like, oh, I'm passionate in this area, I want to make a difference. Let me start studying it. And you never know, people might, and they might discover something which will take us to the day quantum computing becomes industrial, basically.
So if there's one thing that I've learned about you from our conversation is that you are an extremely self-motivated learner. You're very passionate about learning. For any people who are watching this and are interested in learning more as well, be it STEM or quantum computing, AI, anything, right? What would you say is the best strategy for them?
I think one of the things you have to be very clear about is what your real passion is. I found out my real passion when I met Krista, when I saw her talking about it, right? And probably, I don't know if I would have discovered it otherwise or not. But I think first thing is discovery. Because if you're not passionate about that thing, you would not go beyond and about to do it. So first thing is you need to be really sure about whether this is the thing that I want to do, right? So that's the first thing. And once you know about it, I think the most important thing for you would be to research in that topic, to understand. So let's say, for example, AI, right? AI or even quantum. Let's talk about quantum computing. Lots of people are talking about AI, so let's talk about quantum. So like in quantum, there are various different avenues. It's a big field. You can't do everything. Like, I don't know all of it, right? But did I find my area? Yes, I took a lot of efforts to understand what quantum space is all about. So there is hardware space, there is software space, there is something beyond that space as well. Which one do I like doing? So I know with my experience, I think I will make more justice in the software or algorithm space. So I figured that out, right? So there is figuring out, because as a topic, and I'm talking, this is not for students, right? I'm talking about, let's say, people who are actually working already,
Sure.
if they want to, and we'll tackle students afterwards. But it will be figuring out which area you want to focus on. And that takes a lot of time. It took a lot of time for me and a lot of talking to a lot of people, So figuring that out. And once you figure that out, be religious about what you want to do. So for example, I did self-study for a very long time. in that area, and then I did a formal course. But don't do a formal course if you haven't done your own studies, because you would end up not understanding anything in that course, right? That's one thing I've learned. So I think there is a process where you figure out what you like, what exactly you like in that topic, and then do self-study, and then go for any type of formal study if you want to. And while doing all of this, it's really important that you practically implement it. You have to be doing some hands-on, because without that, it's very difficult to actually understand the subject truly. You would just understand it at the surface. So practically doing it, implementing it as a pet project. Find a pet project. There are so many reasons why you would build an AI agent, right? Like multiple reasons. So, or there will be many reasons why, if you are in, let's say, in the machine learning space and you want to do a bit more about quantum computing, quantum machine learning is a good area. You can be exposed to and do a bit of hands-on into that. And the other thing I would say is collaboration is so important. You can't do it on your own. Try and collaborate with others, so that you learn different perspectives, people in that area and people who are not in that area wanting to be in the area. So collaborate with people as much as you can. Because one thing I've learned more from people than I have learned by actually reading or actually studying or actually doing formal courses. So I think that's quite important. And when I do any like formal course, one thing I keep in mind is I'm dedicating a lot of time outside of my personal life, outside of my professional life to do this. So I don't want to do a tick box exercise. It's not for getting certification. It's for actually learning.
Right.
So certification is not something I'm like, it's not about having 20 certifications. In fact, I don't have many certifications. I have just one certification on my name, to be honest, and I had to do it. It's an enterprise architecture TOGAF certification, but otherwise I'm not a certification person. But learning is something that comes naturally to me. But when I learn, and even formally, I want to make sure that I'm learning it properly. So all the time that you're investing, make sure you're making use of that time by going above and beyond, and dedicate proper like time to do that. Don't just look at certification, because eventually that's a paper. That's not going to be of any use. This is where it needs to go. So that's what I would say about folks who are actually working already and are professionals and want to pick up something new. In fact, I'm not from AI background either. I'm from applications background. AI and machine learning happened to me because I took it as an extra thing beyond quantum computing, and it grew because I'm quite niche at apps, because you might have heard about applications, and then I did a lot of web development, a lot of middle tier development, all of that. But then I took a step further to incorporate AI and machine learning, and then I took a step further to incorporate quantum computing. So it's about what I'm learning every day. And it's about what new I can add to my learning every day. And this doesn't have to be just technical things as well. Like at age of 35, 40 now, at age of 35, I started studying classical singing.
Wow.
Like I wanted to learn classical singing. I started doing Sanskrit, learning some Sanskrit, right? I mean, I left it in between, but I tried. But classical singing is something I'm continuing learning, because I always wanted to learn classical music. I always wanted to do classical dance. I tried doing kuchipudi. I did it for a year, couldn't cope with it, left it, but I tried.
Right.
But with singing, it's something that has stayed with me. So again, it's a deliberate effort. It's not something added. I want to learn it. And you wouldn't believe, but classical singing has helped me so much at my work as well.
Oh.
Because it brings different peace in you. So any learning, like any studies, I like Vedanta quite a lot. I read quite about it. I'm like a very spiritual person from that sense. Right. I like Sanatana teachings, and I read quite a bit about it. And I think naturally people who are inclined towards science sometimes get inclined towards spirituality, because at some point, they converge at the same place. Both want to do the same thing actually. So I'm a very spiritual person, and I love sciences, but I equally like for example, classical singing. So I'm studying it formally for last 5 years. In fact, my teacher, when I started studying it, said, you are very old. Why do you like, in the sense, old in the sense, now if you start studying it, it's going to take you years to be able to actually sing in front of audience. But I'm not doing it because I want to sing it in front of audience. I want to learn.
Right.
And I want to be able to sing it to myself first before singing it to others. So I think it's about like what you want to do, but whatever you want to do it with passion and be religious and disciplined with it. So yeah.
Wow, Deepa, you are a powerhouse. I have to say that. Oh my God, like I can't believe where this conversation has gone. I would not have guessed that, you're so creative as well. I mean, it's just fascinating to hear everything that you've been doing. And really, it's been a pleasure having you here and chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time. And I feel that you've actually taught me so much today. And you're such a multifaceted and dynamic personality. It's really great having you.
I've learned a lot from you. I'm learning all the time from everyone. So thank you so much for having me. Thanks for all the wonderful questions. They were brilliant. And hopefully I've made justice to them.
I'm sure.
I'm very humble. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.